And hello, everybody. Welcome on back to another episode of Shapes.io. As always, I am Tyler, and I'm here to continue with pretty much arranging all of our shapes. So hopefully everyone is doing well today, and we can go ahead and kind of just jump right in. So if you'll remember, in the last episode, left off trying to figure out the best way to set this all up, because right now I'm still only making about 4,000, and okay, so I'm only producing 4,000 of these, but I need 8,000 to be able to run all of these at half, I think. Let's see. Because we can check this. Alright, so producing 2,500 of these a minute, and that's because enough's just not getting down. So I think our best option would be to we're gonna need to just grab some more of this shape and then belt it on in further up in the line. So I think we might have better luck if we decide to do this. So what we can do is we can just move it up slightly. So we'll move it up a couple. And then what we do is we just need to connect everything back up. And I think I accidentally put it one over to the right, but that's okay. Because what we can do is we can belt on up the we can set some more extractors and then have them come up and have them go down into here. Or we can actually have them just go into the splitters that we already have, and then it'll provide some of these ones with a little bit more assistance that they need, and then so on and so forth. So we'll go ahead and just fill these all back on up. Like I said, pretty much my goal is I would like to make sure that everything, kind of works more properly, and if we can make the max amount that we can, then I think that would be pretty nice for being able to, make our setup even better. So there we go. Alright. So now, this right now is kind of doing pretty well in its own right by the time that it gets on over to the end here. If my math is correct, we should be totally fine up with this much. We just need to be able to get this to get all the way to the end. So what we'll do is set ourselves up with a couple more lines of these, and then we will go ahead and just curve it on upwards, and then do a little weird stuff like that. And actually probably would be better off if we put it in later though. Oh, and that's not delivering properly. Wrong direction for whatever reason. but everything else is good. So we start seeing our first little bit of things being light around, you know, here-ish, and then it gets worse and worse as time goes on, so let's go ahead and move this on over. We'll bring it onto the other side. And let's go ahead and connect it to this one. There we go. And let's see how that'll start to help. Because we should hopefully see some more funneling through here, and then this will get a little bit better. Now for granted it is going to kind of back up because we're already at our 5,000 limit. You know, since we're not really using it right now, I guess it would be a better idea if I just stacked these together so we could test it for a little bit longer. But also, another smart idea probably, we just turn the output this way, and in that way we don't actually have to go around all weirdly like that. And actually, you know what, we can come down and go like this. And we're going to need to switch on over to this tunnel and just keep bringing it on over. So it's going into here. So, you know, it's getting a little bit better over there, but I would be interested if there's like an ideal way to go about actually adding in more to what your belts can support. So, you know, let's go ahead and bring it right there. Go bring you, and there we go. There we go. Because, you know, obviously the ones that we're playing into that go directly into the splitter, going straight up here, totally fine, and then it's getting a little bit better here. But I still don't really know what the best way to divide things up is. Our English is weird grammatically. Yeah, I don't know what is the best way to actually add more production into here, but are we at least producing more? Yes, I mean, we're at 3,000, which, you know, feels weird because we put 2 in and we only went up about 500. So maybe there's a better way to maybe do more lanes or something, but honestly I think for right now I'm just gonna leave it. We can go ahead and belt things on over to match up with all of this over here. So we want 3. There we go. And then we can go ahead and connect up the rest. And don't know how. Oh, I know what happened. Oh. I guess we're gonna just do a little bit of weird maneuvering here, but that's fine. That goes down like that. That goes down like that. And we'll go down like this. And there we go. And now all we've got to do is just follow up. But I will say it was like, it's one nice thing about just kind of like the simple aesthetic of this game is that there's a lot of opportunity just to kind of create like satisfying rows and organization of things, because especially since the grid is laid out really well, yeah, I always know what I'm looking for, and I just genuinely enjoy how easy it is to make things come together. And I think for you, we will line you up with here. So that way we can extend the tunnels from there. But like, you know, being able to see all of this overlaid together is just kind of enjoyable, and seeing all of our shapes and stuff like that just be laid out in a nice, even format. And you know what? What if we just funnel a bunch of them like this, so that way while we're building things, one, we eliminate more belts, and then two, we're constantly storing more shapes so we can just push this production for as long as it needs to go, and so on and so forth. So, okay, so now that we've got you, are there any other shapes that I'm missing? Because I think we have one of every basic shape, I believe, which we can then come over like that. There we go. We'll go ahead and get you covered. And then all we need to do is do that. And oh, there we go. Boom. And now we have, I think, one of everything lined up for over here. Oh. I was like, I can't think of any other shape that we might be missing, but like I said, the main annoying one really is just going to be our pinwheels, because we can only produce so much of those with our current setup. The only other thing I can think of is maybe, you know, cutting this in half and then... But because obviously we're still getting stuff that's making it all the way through, so I guess technically we could add more on, but we know that we hit a production loss for each and every new addition that we add, so I'm not quite sure. Also, I'm not sure about why like these two back up, but then this one doesn't. It seems weird that the last two are totally fine, but and then the ones obviously that I have the extra feeding into and so on and so forth. What if we instead did that? I don't know if that would make it any better or not. Because yeah, it still fills this one up pretty quickly, and then, you know, since we're constantly having this move, then this is only still splitting so much, and so on and so forth. So I think it works probably effectively the same way as if I had it just connected in there. And then obviously we still see the production, or the saturation loss down here, and Eventually I would like to be able to figure out more about how to make it better, but I don't know if there's just if it's just a thing where it's like we can only do so much, or like I said, I'm not 100% sure what I'm missing more than anything, but you know, at least I'm still making progress. I was like, we still got a little bit of time left on this shape as we're delivering 2,000-ish. Mega bus. So everything will kind of line up over here and so on and so forth. And we're still delivering plenty of this shape. Interesting. Okay, so we're not actually producing enough of this shape. Ah, that's right, because we're not getting enough dye coming in from over here. So we need... So what does this do for us? Oh. Okay, this one was actually already good. But what does that do for us? No change. Okay. Like I said, obviously, this is kind of where I run into an issue where I need to rework pretty much all of this over here. Because, yeah, if we don't have enough production of the white dye for... Because we make plenty of that shape. We're not making enough of this because we're not getting enough white dye coming in from over here. What if we just do that? I don't know if that'll really help at all, but maybe it will? Question mark? Because I was like, we also have a similar issue with this that we have with the we have the same issue here that we have with the other stuff where it's like we're not making to full belt saturation, we're only making a half belt saturation. So, you know, these when they split off we're totally fine, but when this comes down to over here, it's having some issues keeping up. Which, again, I'm still not sure why this one's totally fine, but then all three of these are behind. And I'm assuming probably it's because... Okay, so if we draw off from the same side, we're using more of that production versus the other production. Which is just, you know, kind of weird. I don't really know how to combat that, so if anyone does know, feel free to let me know. I'm always interested in trying to learn more if I can, because I would like to make things better and figure out how to get like true efficiency going on. Because it's a thing where like a lot of the time I'm, you know, 90% of the way there, and then I'm just missing that last 10%. And this is normally the part of any game like this where I'm like, I don't know what to do now, and I just literally just scroll around the map and hope that something will strike me. Obviously I think probably one of our best bets is going to be making more of, I think more of the dyes that we need. And we can find a way to put it onto the belt, and then 2, making more of this basic shape. Because obviously it was like, everything that's relying upon the extractors, I've got down with, you know, full belt saturation. Like, I understand that. And then as soon as I start trying to make like intermediate products, I run into an issue, and that's why I think normally when you do a main busing setup, you do the most basic products possible, and then from there you create your intermediates, so that way you can limit how much you actually are using. And you know, if I'm using, say, green and blue dyes for one product, instead of having a whole bus that's just dedicated to the cyan dye, I just root this off, do what I need, and then I root something off from one of the other basic shapes, and then, you know, we're good to go. But I don't think that, or it's like, I know that that's not something that particularly works 100% of the time with the setup that I've got going on, so I don't know. I think eventually it'll get figured out and be able to go from there, but you know, at the end of the day, it was like we end up being able to slowly but surely create things, and you know, we'll eventually reach the goals. It just takes a little bit of time, and like I said, a lot of this series sorry, a lot of the series is really just kind of based around bantering and trying to solve the problems that come up as they arise. Yeah, this might be something that I might, in my own time, just duplicate the save file, and then I can destroy everything and just start from square one, as I am very well known for doing at this point. It's something that I tend to do a lot of, but yeah, because you know, I mean, like, you've got this right here. It's a compact setup and it works, and as long as we have, you know, production going from one portion from one belt, then we're good. So maybe the belt system just doesn't make sense for me. Maybe it might be a better idea just to continue with doing what I was doing before, and we can localize the production of things. I don't know, because I don't know 100% how to add more of whatever basic product onto a line without throwing everything out of whack, you know? Maybe okay, so maybe we could have like 4-lane balancer, and then we have all of that go into, maybe we need to split it between how many we're trying to work in. No, because okay, so that 4-lane balancer keeps all of this proper, but the issue we run into is that we split off so many times. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So we've got, you know, so we've got 10 of them working, and the splitters work at 40 items a second. So, you know, it's being split every single time and then rebalanced and then split again and then rebalanced and split again and rebalanced and so on and so forth. So this still kind of comes back to our issue with figuring out how we can add production into the system without it add production into the system while still being able to split in one neat fashion. I was like, we might have to just deal with, like, for at least stuff like this, maybe doing localized production, and then we put the output onto a full belt, so that way we split a lot less times. I'm not sure what my solution is gonna be for this. So, you know, I mean, we've got more here. So, I mean, that might be our best solution, because Okay, I understand now what my issue is I'm splitting off too many times for the amount that I'm producing. Because I was like, if you look at this first row, fully saturated, and it comes through here, and we're doing this, we can cut 5 items a second, but only combine 3 1/3 items a second. So, as long as we have this fine, we'll always have more than enough shapes for here. So, and if we had the cutters, we could support so we could support 4 cutters on 1 belt. So I think there's the possibility that if I wanted, I could either do a similar setup to this, have the 4-lane divider, and then when I come off of it, only cut. No, because I did that before too, where I cut, like, one did the right side, the other did the left side, and then they came together and they combined. And obviously... I was like, obviously our system for that kind of worked, but we were still running into issues with keeping saturation, I believe. Although it has been a little bit since I remember how that was fully set up. So obviously, if I've got this going on, I can kind of back up a little bit while we're not doing anything, and then we've got plenty to saturate the belts and so on and so forth. But obviously I pretty much at this point want to get this number as high as possible, because that's at least what we're using for all of these. And speaking of, so the developer released another devlog and talked a little bit about the work that they were doing on rebalancing things, because I guess the tier 7 upgrades make things too fast, and then apparently stuff looks like it's going backwards, and the same type of visual illusions you get from anything that's moving too quickly. Like if you've ever seen a car wheel spin fast enough that it looks like it's going slow and stuff like that. So apparently that runs into being a thing, so the developers rebalancing that. Obviously they still are doing the work on the wires. I think there was some stuff mentioned with the balancers, maybe adjusting those a little bit, which I think would be interesting. There's plenty of changes that are going to be planned, and honestly at the end of the day I support the developer, and I will be excited to see what they end up actually doing. Actually, you know what, do we have the... Okay, so we're making the corners here. Okay, but the thing is that we have a much better return on our investment because we're producing 4 corners per 1 square. So these can back up much more easily because we're not using anywhere near as many corners as we're producing. And let's see, so we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Okay, so when we were doing that with all these come together, we were only doing 12,000 production for our corners. So because I'm trying to think, because if we have 24 and each one is making 4 of those, so we've got 96 altogether, and then we need to multiply that. No, I don't know. Sometimes I try to do math in my head and I'm just like, do I actually know what I'm talking about, or am I just dumb? So, okay, so 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, 95, 100, 5, 10, 15, 20. Okay, so we've got 120 items that can be cut. And then we're doing 4 of our finished product for every cut. So 120 times 4 is 480. So we've got 480 at any given time. Obviously that's a lot to be able to put onto here. And so we only need 120 squares to be able to make this work. But we end up, like I said, we multiply our final production by 4 because, you know, we're using all of the corners to make the top rights. Except for the bottom left side I'm throwing away, but obviously I could easily rotate everything. Oh, that's right, because I had this so I could do the top right and the bottom left corners, and then I was like, I don't need the bottom left. So I could readjust everything, but so technically I think we're doing 240 per row. But obviously we're making more than enough because, so we're doing 240, 480. Right, it's 5, 10, because 10, and then we get 20 per row, so 40, and then they're coming together, and so so our belts could be at double this current speed and still be able to produce what we're still producing what we need with our cutting. So, like, pretty good setup because we're making a lot more shapes than we are using. Whereas over here, we're using a lot more shapes because we use the whole shape and we have to cut the shape twice in order to actually get one hole. So it's like halving our production. Whereas instead of using one shape to get 4, we have to use 2 shapes to get 1. Okay, so that makes a lot more sense with that then. So obviously I think that means that this needs to be completely reworked so we can be a little bit more efficient in the shapes that we're using. And either that means we need to figure out a better way to split less, or find a way to add in more saturation to the belt later on down the line so it keeps up with the rest of these. And that could be a simple change as just creating another row of 4 and then balancing that, and then just, you know, instead of having this go all the way straight down, we just, actually, let me double check this right quick. So, I mean, we're still making, well, I think it's gone down because this is caught back up quite a bit, but what I was saying was, like, we could instead, you know, take part of this, move everything over, and then we just refeed in the next level of production into the series and then go from there. But at that point, it might be better just to have multiple. I think just the localized production approach might be our best bet. We could, yeah, so we might be able to figure out how many we can support on a 4-lane splitter and then go from there. But I think that's where I'm going to call it for this episode. So hopefully everyone enjoyed. If you did, leave a like on the video, comment if you have anything you want to share, feedback, anything like that. Subscribe to see when I release content in the future, and have a great day. I will see you in the next one.